Ever looked at an old boot, a broken plate, or a tin can and thought, what if this could be something magical? Today, we'll show you how forgotten scraps can become fairy lanterns, hobbit homes, and whimsical garden treasures. This is Modhaus DIY, where imagination meets everyday recycling. In this video, you'll discover autumn upcycling ideas that feel like stepping straight into a storybook. We've added timestamps so you can jump to your favorite projects, and if you're inspired, let us know in the comments. Don't just watch, create your own version, with whatever you have right now. I know I may look like just another channel on your feed, but behind every video is a real dream, a real family, and a story that matters. Each like, each comment, each subscribe, it's not just a number. It's hope. It's encouragement. When you click subscribe, you're helping keep this dream alive, one small moment at a time. Thank you for being part of it. In the hush of an autumn garden, something curious catches the eye, a small cluster of toadstools rising from the soil, their caps painted in the warm colors of fall. At first glance, they appear as if grown overnight by the whispers of woodland fairies. But a closer look reveals their secret origin: simple egg cartons, cut, painted, and transformed into whimsical mushrooms that dance in the garden breeze. There is a certain charm in crafting from the humblest scraps. These cartons, once holding fragile shells of breakfast, now stand as symbols of resilience and imagination. Children lean down, marveling at their bright caps dotted with white speckles, while sparrows hop nearby, curious about the strange new neighbors among the moss. Placed along a garden path, they become tiny guardians of the season, marking the turning of leaves, the crisp air that carries the scent of pine and damp soil. At dusk, when fairy lights glow from within some of their hollow stems, the whole garden seems touched by a quiet enchantment, as if a storybook world had slipped through the cracks of reality. The beauty of these toadstools lies not only in their playful colors but in their reminder that even discarded things can bloom with wonder. They invite us to pause, to kneel closer to the earth, and to notice the magic hidden in corners often overlooked. In the fading light of autumn, they stand as proof that imagination can turn trash into treasure, and that every garden has room for a little bit of fairy mischief. There is something ancient in the way stones hold stories. In autumn, as leaves gather and the air sharpens, a garden path can become more than a way to walk, it can become a portal. Each pebble, once plain and gray, takes on new life when brushed with symbols of mystery. Painted runes glow faintly against their smooth surfaces, telling silent tales only the observant will notice. The magic is not loud or obvious. It hides in the details, waiting for those who pause. A child bends down, tracing a finger over the swirls and marks etched in paint, asking if fairies left a secret message. Adults smile, remembering how, as children, they too believed that gardens whispered back if you listen closely. The pathway feels alive, guiding footsteps with a gentle rhythm. As shoes press against the stones, the runes seem to hum, a soft echo of imagination. Moss slips between the pebbles, softening their edges, and autumn leaves scatter themselves like fallen parchment across the design. At twilight, lanterns flicker nearby, and the runes appear to shimmer, as if charged by the fading light. This creation is simple, born of everyday pebbles collected from the earth. Yet, when gathered with care and given a touch of paint, they become something that feels eternal, like fragments of forgotten folklore woven into the soil. Walking upon them is no longer just movement, but participation in a quiet ritual. In every garden corner, such details breathe enchantment. They remind us that beauty often lies not in grandeur, but in the smallest choices, a painted stone, a curved line, a hidden rune. And so the path becomes more than a walkway, it becomes a story underfoot, where imagination and nature walk hand in hand. At first, they were nothing more than scraps, bottle caps, forgotten and scattered after moments long gone. Yet here, in the hush of an autumn garden, they find a new story. Laid carefully into the soil, pressed into patterns of spirals, blossoms, and circles, they become a pathway fit for fairies. Each step tells of resourcefulness. A red cap becomes a petal, a green one a leaf, a golden one a burst of light. Together, they create a mosaic that is both playful and precise, weaving bright fragments into the muted tones of fall. The ground feels alive with color, as though the earth itself has dressed in celebration of the season. Children wander down the path, their shoes crunching gently on the edges of fallen leaves. They marvel at the colors, tracing the designs with small fingers. Some whisper that the fairies come here at night, following the trail of bottle caps as stars beneath their feet. In the glow of lanterns, the caps shimmer, scratched, imperfect, yet luminous in their new role. This pathway is not just decoration. It is a reminder that nothing is too small to matter. What was once trash now gleams as treasure, repurposed into a walkway that invites curiosity and wonder. Each cap is a memory of something consumed, transformed into something shared, something beautiful. And as the garden grows quiet in the cool embrace of autumn, the bottle cap mosaic endures. It does not fade with the season. Instead, it waits, a permanent spell cast across the soil, carrying both the whimsy of imagination and the grounded wisdom of reuse. For those who walk it, the message is simple: beauty often hides in the overlooked, waiting only for someone to see with kinder eyes. In the quiet corners of the garden, where shadows of autumn branches fall gently on the soil, small towers rise as if from a forgotten storybook. Built not from stone or iron, but from the humblest cardboard boxes, they stand proudly, a kingdom born from scraps. Their turrets are uneven, their windows cut by hand, yet each imperfection makes them endearing. Painted in shades of gray and brushed with a hint of mossy green, they mimic the timeless look of ancient castles. As ivy curls upward and lantern light flickers through tiny cutout windows, the towers appear alive, as though fairies and hobbits alike have claimed them for their own. Children crouch to peek inside, half expecting to find a glowing orb or a tiny wizard pacing the halls. The air of mystery is strong here. It feels as though the garden has invited a new chapter of magic into its landscape. Even adults pause, caught by the strange pull of nostalgia, remembering tales of castles, dragons, and knights. What once carried shoes or kitchen goods now rises as an emblem of imagination. Cardboard, so often overlooked, becomes the foundation of wonder. Each tower tells a tale of resourcefulness, that from the simplest, even fragile materials, a world of grandeur can unfold. In the embrace of autumn, when leaves cloak the ground in amber and gold, these towers blend with the season's palette. They are monuments not to wealth or power, but to creativity, to the joy of building kingdoms where none existed. At night, when fairy lights glow through their cutout doors, the garden becomes a realm of enchantment. A cardboard castle, fragile yet enduring, whispers to every visitor, magic need not be grand to be real, it need only be imagined, and cherished. There is something enchanting about wings, the symbol of freedom, flight, and dreams. In a humble autumn garden, where leaves fall in showers of gold and the air hums with quiet change, wings appear once more. But these wings are not born of feather or silk, they are crafted from the most ordinary of objects, wire hangers once forgotten in a closet. Bent and curved with care, they take the shape of delicate fairy wings. Thin fabrics, lace scraps, or even pieces of translucent plastic stretch across the frame, catching the light like stained glass. A touch of glitter or a wash of paint in soft autumn hues turns them into ethereal ornaments, shimmering gently in the fading sun. Hung from tree branches or tucked along fences, they seem to hover, as though invisible fairies have just paused and set them aside. Children run past and stop suddenly, whispering questions. Did a fairy lose her wings here? Do they glow brighter at night when the stars rise? With a string of tiny lights hidden behind the folds, the answer feels like a gentle yes. The beauty of these wings lies in their quiet transformation. Wire hangers, so rigid, so practical, so easily discarded, become symbols of flight. They remind us that even the most ordinary can embody magic when touched by imagination. Each pair feels fragile yet hopeful, a whisper of another world lingering in our own. As autumn deepens, and the garden fills with soft shadows and cool winds, the wings remain, swaying slightly, reflecting moonlight, inviting wonder. They are not just decorations but gentle invitations to dream, proof that even in the season of fading light, there are always reminders of flight, freedom, and the possibility of enchantment waiting to be found. As twilight falls and the garden begins to hush, small lights flicker to life among the branches. At first, they seem like fireflies drifting in the autumn air. But upon closer look, they are lanterns, glowing softly, crafted from something once destined for the bin, old plastic bottles. Each lantern carries its own story. Some are brushed in shades of amber and crimson, echoing the colors of fallen leaves. Others are wrapped in twine, adorned with dried leaves pressed against their sides like fragile glass windows. A tea light or LED tucked inside turns them into radiant vessels, casting patterns of warmth across the ground. Children gather beneath the glow, their faces illuminated in the soft shimmer. They whisper about fairies, imagining them fluttering home to these lanterns at night, carrying sparks of starlight within their tiny hands. For adults, there is a quiet sense of nostalgia, a memory of autumn evenings when even the smallest light felt like a treasure against the early dark. The transformation is simple yet profound. Bottles once tossed aside now shine as beacons of creativity. Their plastic curves no longer mark them as waste but as vessels of magic. They remind us that beauty is not limited to what is rare or costly. It can emerge from what we choose to see differently. In the cool hush of an autumn night, these lanterns do more than illuminate the garden. They create atmosphere, an enchantment that settles gently on every leaf, every stone, every heart that passes by. They are proof that imagination can turn the ordinary into extraordinary, that even trash can glow with wonder when lit by kindness and creativity. In the fading light of autumn, when the air is cool and still, small orbs gleam between the branches. They glimmer as though they have flown straight from the pages of a wizard's tale. Yet these golden treasures are not born of magic spells, they are humble light bulbs, transformed into the legendary snitch. Each bulb, once cracked or burned out, becomes a vessel for imagination. Painted with shimmering gold, they catch the last rays of the sun. Tiny wings, crafted from wire or lace scraps, stretch from their sides, trembling gently in the breeze. From a distance, they seem almost alive, ready to dart across the garden at a moment's notice. Children gaze at them with wide eyes, whispering about Quidditch matches and hidden spells. They chase the orbs with laughter, believing that if caught, a secret wish might be granted. Adults smile too, drawn back into the worlds of their own childhood, when stories of wizards and magical games lit up their evenings. At night, with fairy lights glowing softly inside some of the bulbs, the illusion becomes stronger. The garden glows with scattered sparks of gold, as though enchanted creatures had chosen this place as their home. Every step on the soft earth feels like walking through a secret chapter, one where magic coexists with fallen leaves and the scent of damp soil. The beauty of these golden snitch orbs is in their transformation. Once discarded glass, fragile and forgotten, they now gleam as symbols of wonder. They remind us that even in the quiet corners of our lives, there is room for magic, room for stories, for play, for light. And in an autumn garden, they shine not only as decorations but as promises that imagination can make even broken things soar again. In the hush of an autumn evening, where mist curls low over the garden and the trees stand in quiet watch, a row of jars gleam with curious light. They are not ordinary jars anymore. They are potions, vessels of mystery and imagination, born from the simplest glass containers left behind in the kitchen. Each jar carries its own spell. One glows softly green, as though filled with forest magic. Another shimmers blue, like bottled moonlight caught between the leaves. Some hold pressed flowers or feathers, their delicate shapes suspended in the glow of hidden lights. The jars stand together, like a tiny apothecary of dreams, waiting for wandering eyes to discover them. Children approach with cautious wonder, whispering about witches, wizards, and hidden recipes. They press their faces close, certain that the liquid might swirl if they stare long enough. Adults, 2. Pause, drawn by the quiet nostalgia of stories where potions healed, enchanted, or revealed truths. The beauty of these potion bottles is not only in their glow but in their reminder that even the most ordinary vessels can become containers of magic. A pickle jar becomes a lantern of mysteries, a jam jar a keeper of fairy dust, a sauce bottle a spell waiting to be cast. When the garden darkens and lanterns flicker nearby, the jars shimmer more brightly, turning the space into a place between worlds. They remind us that imagination is not bound by age or season, it is as timeless as the earth beneath our feet. In autumn's embrace, these potion jars become both decoration and story, inviting us to believe, if only for a moment, that magic is real and waiting, right there in the garden. At the base of a tree, half hidden by ivy and fallen leaves, a door waits. It is small and round, unmistakably Hobbit-like, yet what makes it remarkable is its surface, a mosaic of broken plates pieced together into a jewel of color. Once shattered and discarded, the fragments now gleam with new purpose, forming patterns that invite curiosity. Each shard carries a memory. A blue porcelain sliver that once held morning tea. A golden rim that once framed family meals. A fragment of floral design, now shining like a petal in the mosaic. Together, they no longer tell stories of loss or breakage, but of transformation, reborn into something whimsical and whole. Children press close, running their fingers along the smooth surface, certain that behind the door lies a hobbit's home filled with warm bread and laughter. Adults pause, drawn by nostalgia, remembering dinners where those very plates might once have clinked. The door becomes not only an entryway but a keeper of quiet histories, stitched together in glass and color. In autumn's light, the mosaic glows. Lanterns placed on either side cast soft shadows across the round frame. Pumpkins rest nearby, leaves crunch underfoot, and the door feels alive, like a passage to another world just waiting to be opened. The beauty lies not in perfection but in imperfection reshaped. Brokenness is not hidden here, it is celebrated, made radiant. The Hobbit door stands as a symbol, that even the fractured can become something magical, that endings can turn into beginnings with a little care and imagination. As the evening settles, the door remains, a silent invitation to dream. Perhaps no hobbit truly lives behind it, but the magic it brings to the garden is real enough, breathing warmth and wonder into the cool embrace of autumn. In a forgotten cupboard, mugs once cherished lie chipped, faded, and worn. Yet in the garden, among the whispers of autumn leaves, they find a second life, reborn as magical cauldrons bubbling with imagination. Each mug tells a different tale. A cracked teacup becomes a vessel of shimmering potion, its surface sprinkled with glitter and beads that catch the fading sunlight. A sturdy old coffee mug, painted in shades of black and silver, steams like a witch's brew when a hidden LED flickers inside. Together, they transform a simple garden table into an apothecary's corner, alive with whimsical energy. Children approach wide-eyed, peering into the cups and asking what spells are brewing. Some imagine potions of invisibility, others brews that let you talk to owls or make autumn leaves dance in the air. For adults, the scene sparks gentle nostalgia, memories of tea shared on quiet mornings, now spun into fairy tale enchantment. The transformation is humble, yet profound. These mugs are no longer relics of use but carriers of stories. They remind us that brokenness is not an end, it can be a beginning. What once seemed too plain or imperfect now glows with possibility, inviting wonder to bloom where waste might have been. Placed among pumpkins, moss, and fallen leaves, the cauldrons seem perfectly at home. Their glow blends with lantern light, turning the garden into a setting where witches and fairies might cross paths, where stories could unfold in the hush of twilight. And as the evening deepens, the mugs remain symbols of imagination, of the alchemy that happens when we choose to see beyond the surface. They whisper a quiet truth: magic does not always require spells. Sometimes, it only asks that we believe, and create, with what is already in our hands. In the golden hush of autumn, where gardens shift into shades of amber and rust, small homes appear, Hobbit houses, not carved from hills but fashioned from the simplest of scraps, tin cans. Each can, once holding soup or beans, is painted with care. A round door is drawn at its center, windows peek out, and moss gathers at the roof's edge like an untamed garden. From the top, flowers spill, marigolds glowing orange, ivy trailing down, tiny herbs brushing the air with fragrance. The cans are no longer dull or ordinary. They are cottages, each one alive with character, each one telling a story. Children crouch beside them, whispering about hobbits no taller than a thumb, who might be brewing tea behind those painted doors. They imagine lanterns glowing at night, tiny laughter drifting from within. For adults, there is quiet wonder in seeing the ordinary transformed so completely. The garden feels warmer, more alive, as though folklore has gently stepped into reality. The beauty of these planters lies in their contradictions: metal softened by vines, waste turned into charm, the mundane reshaped into magic. They remind us that stories can live anywhere, even in the shells of discarded cans. What matters is not what they once were, but what imagination makes them now. Placed in rows, they form a tiny hobbit village, an autumn settlement that feels timeless. The crunch of leaves underfoot, the cool breeze carrying the scent of damp soil, all fold into the scene, completing its quiet spell. And as evening falls, when lanterns glow softly nearby, the hobbit houses gleam with color and life. They stand as proof that magic is not distant or rare. Sometimes, it is as close as a tin can, reshaped with care, waiting to welcome wonder into the world. In the gentle quiet of autumn, when the air grows crisp and the earth smells of fallen leaves, small snails appear in the garden. They do not move or munch on lettuce, they are sculptures, crafted from old hoses once coiled and forgotten in a shed. The transformation is playful yet poetic. A hose, cracked and faded, is spiraled into the shape of a snail's shell. A stick or piece of wire becomes antennae, painted with curious eyes at the tip. Sometimes moss is added, clinging naturally to the surface, making the snail seem alive, as if it had always belonged to the garden. Children are the first to discover them. They kneel in laughter, pointing at the hose snails as though they found real magical creatures frozen mid-crawl. Adults chuckle too, surprised at how something so ordinary, so nearly discarded, can bring such warmth. The sculptures, humble yet whimsical, add a playful spirit to the garden's calm. Placed among pumpkins, along pebble paths, or tucked near ivy walls, the snails blend with the autumn palette. Their green spirals contrast against the gold of fallen leaves, while their quirky shapes echo the season's lightheartedness. At dusk, a lantern nearby casts soft shadows, making the hose snails look as though they're slowly inching forward, carrying the weight of stories on their backs. The beauty of these creations lies not only in their charm but in their reminder that even worn-out tools, forgotten and cracked, can become part of joy. They teach us to see beyond what something was, into what it might still be. In autumn's embrace, these snail sculptures feel at home, symbols of slowness, patience, and transformation. They rest quietly in the garden, waiting for anyone who passes by to pause, smile, and remember that magic often lives in the smallest, most unexpected forms. Autumn carries with it a certain magic of memory, the soft crunch of leaves, the scent of damp soil, the feeling of things once worn finding new life. In a quiet corner of the garden, old boots stand, no longer walking through rain or carrying weary feet, but blooming instead with flowers. The leather is cracked, the lace is frayed, yet inside each boot, soil cradles marigolds, ivy, or herbs that spill over the edges. Some boots are painted with whimsical details, a tiny round hobbit door, a small window, perhaps even a swirl of vines curling across the sides. What once seemed too worn to keep now looks alive, transformed into miniature homes as though hobbits themselves might step out at dusk. Children stop and stare, enchanted by the sight. They laugh at the idea of hobbits living in boots, imagining them peeking from tiny windows, holding lanterns that glow in the cool evening. Adults smile too, caught between practicality and wonder, realizing how even the most battered belongings can become vessels of joy. The boots blend effortlessly into the autumn garden. Resting on mossy stones or tucked against a wooden fence, they carry with them a story of resilience. Once protectors of journeys, now they cradle life, rooted in stillness. Lantern light catches the edges of their seams, and fallen leaves gather gently at their sides, completing the spell. There is beauty in this transformation, the kind that whispers softly rather than shouts. The boots remind us that nothing is too worn to matter, that every object has a second chance if only we choose to imagine it differently. As evening settles and the garden glows with fading light, the hobbit boot planters stand as symbols of creativity and care. They do not walk anymore, but they carry stories, stories of journeys past, and of the quiet enchantment that begins when something old finds new purpose. At the heart of every magical garden lies a threshold, a place where the ordinary world softens and the whimsical begins. In autumn, such a threshold can be found not in carved stone or iron gates, but in the simplest of creations, arches made from fallen branches and twigs. The branches, weathered and curved by the seasons, are woven together with twine. Some still hold the shape of curled bark, others cradle bits of moss. When bound in arcs, they rise gracefully, like natural gateways leading into realms of imagination. Autumn leaves are tucked into the weave, their warm colors glowing against the wood. At twilight, strings of fairy light spiral around the frame, casting soft illumination that makes the arch seem alive with enchantment. Children are quick to notice. They skip through the arch again and again, convinced that each passage brings them deeper into the fairy world. Adults pause longer, feeling the quiet pull of nostalgia, recalling childhood stories where doorways always led to new adventures. Under the branches, the garden feels more intimate, more alive, as though stepping beneath the arch truly opens a hidden chapter. Placed at a pathway, over a bench, or framing a cluster of pumpkins, the arches transform their surroundings. They are not grand or heavy, they are delicate, fragile even, but they hold an elegance that belongs to nature itself. Every knot, every twist in the wood becomes part of their character. And when the evening deepens, with lanterns swaying gently and the scent of damp soil rising in the air, the arches glow as if infused with quiet magic. They remind us that beauty does not require perfection or permanence. Sometimes, it only asks for attention, for branches gathered, for care given, and in return, it creates a gateway not only for the garden, but for the imagination. In the playful heart of autumn, when breezes carry the scent of wood smoke and the ground is dressed in leaves, little windmills turn gently in the garden. They are not built of stone or wood, but from something far more ordinary, empty milk cartons, reshaped into towers of whimsy. Each carton, once plain and functional, is cut, painted, and adorned with small details. A round window here, a painted door there. Wings cut from cardboard or plastic swirl above, catching the wind and spinning with surprising grace. Some are painted in earthy browns, others in cheerful reds and oranges, echoing the hues of the season. Together, they form a row of tiny fairy windmills, a playful settlement in the midst of fallen leaves. Children watch them spin with delight, certain that fairies live inside, grinding acorn flour or storing jars of golden honey. Their laughter rises with each turn of the blades, as though the wind itself carries magic. Adults, too, smile at the sight, amazed at how simple cartons, once destined for the trash, now whirl with life and color in the cool air. Placed along fences, tucked into corners, or set beside pumpkins, the windmills brighten the garden. At dusk, with fairy lights glowing softly behind their painted windows, they appear almost real, like lantern-lit cottages from a storybook village. The spinning blades catch the light, casting playful shadows that dance across the soil. The beauty of these fairy windmills lies not in their perfection but in their transformation. They remind us that the wind of imagination can turn even the humblest objects into wonders. Where others see waste, they invite us to see possibility, to believe that magic can live in cardboard and paint. And so, as autumn deepens, the milk carton windmills spin on, a gentle song of creativity, a celebration of the season, and a quiet promise that magic is always turning, if only we choose to look. And that's the end of our magical autumn garden journey, where trash becomes treasure, and ordinary scraps turn into fairy tale wonder. Which idea sparked your imagination the most? Was it the glowing bottle lanterns, the Hobbit house planters, or maybe the broken plate mosaic door? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your voice helps inspire the next video. If you enjoyed this content, Please like, subscribe, and help us spread these ideas to others who love creativity as much as you do. Thank you for joining us here at Scrap Soil Studio, and until next time, keep creating magic with what you have.